afternoon, and good evening to everyone tuning in. Whichever device you are listening to this on, you were meant to be here today. I'm your host, KP, and this is Tea and Honey Live, Episode 2. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you guys for coming back to this new season, They're Extraordinary. This season is jam-packed, filled with amazing guests that I know you will enjoy. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode because we will be discussing our topic, Work Hard, Rest Hard. We'll be talking about how it is important to find balance between everything that we do, and that much as we hear from the term work hard, often we also should rest hard as well. We'll be talking about what that means in our guests' everyday lives and schedule. So today we have two very special guests that have touched so many lives with their art of storytelling in the Toronto dance and film industry. They are two remarkable people that aren't afraid to share who they are to the world. It is my honor and privilege to share this platform with them. So without further ado, we have KINAJ. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show.
No worries. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. You guys honestly have been such a big, huge inspiration to a lot of the people in the Toronto dance community, and also for people that have seen your work outside of the community as well. And maybe for people that might not know who you guys are, maybe you can guys give us a little introduction as to what you do, how you do things, and just what you're very passionate about right now.
All right, so hi, my name is Kim. A part of KINAJ. My pronouns are she, her. I am a professional dancer, choreographer, and the co-director of KINAJ.co.
Nice. And hello, everyone. My name is AJ Velasco. I am the other half of KINAJ. My pronouns are he, him, and I am a professional dancer, choreographer, and a co-director of KINAJ.co. Goals right now that I'm focusing on, growing and learning. That's a big one. Well, you can.
Same with me, growing and learning all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In any way, shape, or form, for sure. And as you guys mentioned, you guys are part of a little dance duo. How did it kind of start? And for people that may not know specifically or any details or just anything about KINAJ, what kind of inspired you guys to be who you are together?
Well, we created KINAJ almost a year ago. It's been almost a year. Wow, it's crazy.
Ooh, congrats, you guys.
Word.
Thank you.
Of course.
We really wanted to create together, honestly. And and that's why we created KINAJ, just to create and just make sure that we share some stories that only the two of us can tell. And it's been a really good journey, right?
Yeah, it's been. I think just to add on to what Kin was saying was it was a really cool experience. Because before KINAJ ever happened, Kin was her own independent. She still is her own independent artist. And as myself as well. And kind of our paths were just happening separately. And then later on, in terms of our journey or our lives, they kind of just intertwined. And at a certain time and place, and things just kind of fell into into place, I guess. And then we started to find moments where we were creating a bit more together, sharing ideas, and the exchange and opportunity to learn from each other has been very seamless. Has challenges, but it's been a very fulfilling and genuine experience for me.
So would you say things kind of naturally fell into place? You guys never really planned anything and things just went, okay, we're KINAJ now, basically.
Yeah, I think that it kind of fell into place. And I think what really sparked the idea of creating, I guess creating the idea of KINAJ, or making, I guess, public, was after Kin joined this program online during I think the first start, the first wave of lockdown with COVID, and it was through Sora Yang, her program called The Artful Balance of Business and Dance, She was
Mm-hmm.
in the first intake, and then I was on the second cohort. And
Mm-hmm.
after I can speak for myself, like after this like experience of like what I learned and everything, Kin and I were already like creating stuff on our own and doing our own independent work. And then we were like collabing on the side, but never like really did too much in terms of focusing more energy onto that and like creating stories and ideas together. And then I think
Mm-hmm.
after ABBD is the acronym for that program, we decided like, hell, why don't we actually just like do this? Like this is actually like we have some really cool ideas, and having like because it's a collaboration, like having the we were first like whose page we posted on, like my page, your page, right on Instagram. We're like, what do we do with
We're
it?
gonna
And then
double
yeah, and the
it.
kid was like, yo, and then like yeah, we were like talking, and they were like, why don't we just like freaking make a page, like our own page? And I'm like, all right, if we're doing that, then, like it's gonna be its own separate thing. And then yeah, so everything is just funneled, like whatever's a collaborative work is KINAJ, and it's not
Right.
yeah, it's not like mine or hers or whatever. Yeah,
Just
Mm-hmm.
aligned.
yeah, just aligned,
Yeah, and
and
that's
here we
I think
are.
like one of right. And that's like one of the things I find like really cool about you guys is you guys never really forced anything. You guys kind of just found similarities and even differences and then worked together on that. For sure. And being part of like the creative world slash industry, it's important to find, I guess, people that relate to you in a way, in the way you create, and be able to, support each other and help each other out. So, with being a duo, what are like the positives and like what are the challenges that you guys have to go through when creating, thinking of ideas, projects, and just doing creative work together?
You want to go for that one?
Yeah, I think as a duo, it's definitely easier for us to work out the logistics of everything.
Mm-hmm.
We can divide and conquer basically on things that we need to do and need to, I don't know, organize. For example, if we create a project together, one person is going to focus on this, the other person is focusing on the other thing, and then we just combine our forces and just put things together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's, I guess, it's like a positive thing. And I think
Right.
also being able to support each other throughout the whole process is also really
Yeah.
important. When you're alone, sometimes you don't have a second, opinion, but working together, we can just bounce the ideas off each other, and it
Mm-hmm.
just makes the process a little bit more fun and
Mm-hmm.
entertaining.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's like working on the pros. I like like what just bouncing off what Ken was saying is um, it's really it's easier, I'd say, that like because Ken has her own like set of ideas and skills, and I have my own set of ideas and skills, and like when we
Right.
just combine and kind of work together, it's just like whoa, like super easy. Like we bring like different ideas and concepts, and we're like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
what? Like that's so never thought of that. What the heck? And then she's like, oh yeah, right. So like things flow like that.
Yeah.
Challenges. There's still lots of challenges though.
Yeah.
Learning. I think a big challenge that we learned was, I guess, like in the physicality aspect of dancing is like learning how to dance together. Right. We were
Right.
so used to learning how to dance like individually, or even
Mhm.
like yeah, dancing individually, but now like learning how to dance with each other, in terms of like even like partnering, creating together. Some we were talking about ideas that like that work and it flows, but then there's sometimes on the other side where it's like we throw ideas and we're like, no, I don't know, doesn't really work,
Yeah.
or like we both
Yeah.
have like two different opposing ideas and we have to kind of like meet in the middle, or like one person might have to like let go of an idea. And I'll give a perfect example was that there's this concept. Long story short, there's this concept that we are trying to figure out, and I really wanted to have this mirror scene in it, and Ken was like, I don't think like we need to put that mirror scene, but I was just like, no, I really want this mirror scene in it. And then Ken was like, okay, and we tried it, and it never worked. And then I was just like, yeah, you're right. We're not gonna put the mirror scene in it. So like, I had to just like go of that idea, and luckily things move forward. So those are like those
Yeah.
challenges I think come up. Partnering is definitely a new thing, and I mean like we're learning how to like communicate with our bodies and feel each other's energies without talking, and it's like a conversation, a lot of trust, a lot of
A lot, for
understanding, a
sure.
lot of understanding actually, not only about each other, but ourselves. Like I can speak for myself that I like to sometimes feel at moments to be in control, but I actually have to learn how to just let go and like know that Kin is going to handle her own and like do what she needs to do. And I just have to be here and there at a certain time, or like I need to do something for her so that it's easier for her. So those moments are definitely new and very challenging. Some bruises, some pulled hairs, all that stuff. Right. So it's been,
Yeah,
yeah,
we hit each
we
other.
hit each other a few, like not like purposefully, but like we've been like in the
I
lab
was
and like
gonna say,
we
oh
get
no.
nudged and we're like, yeah, we have like rehearsals where it's like been really painful and we're just like frustrated. And then if we're hungry, yeah, we learn a lot about each other like
Oh
during the
yeah.
process. It's been great. It's been great. Can't
Yeah,
can't lie.
that's like I think that's what makes up a duo. Like I don't know, I've never been actually in like a physical dance duo, but I've learned like working with partners and like also doing other things. Like in Filipino culture, we have like cotillions and whatnot. So I worked with those and learning to dance with other people and being partners with them in a certain concept. It's like a little frustrating. So I totally get where you guys are coming from, but also for people that may not have experienced dance before and just haven't seen or even touched base in a dance community or a dance class. How did you guys kind of start your own careers in dance, and where did you guys come from with pursuing a dance career?
Well, I'll start. I'm actually originally from Ukraine. I was born in Ukraine, and I moved to
Mm-hmm.
Canada, I think 5 years ago. So my dance journey started in Ukraine. And then after I moved to Canada is when I joined the Toronto dance community. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when I guess my career kind of took off. I was part of many dance teams, and we were
Mm-hmm.
competing and doing lots of projects together. I've also done lots of personal projects as well. And I guess just the culmination of everything all together and just working in the industry, getting jobs here and there. And
Mm-hmm.
it just kind of really naturally led into a path that I'm
Right.
following right now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. For me, I dance was just so I'm born in Canada, born in Toronto or Mississauga,
Mm-hmm.
like a first generation Filipino Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
And dance was always just or has been like kind of just like a hobby at first. It was only
Mm-hmm.
like that was really only encouraged in my family setting. Anything art was just a hobby. It was never like you're not gonna make money out of it.
Right.
So I pretty much started. I just started pretty much like playing piano, and then eventually I started dancing, like quote unquote, was during my like my high school age,
Mm-hmm.
and then that transferred towards like my post secondary education when I was like pursuing a degree in the sciences, biomedical science, and I still enjoyed dancing a lot. Dance was always like something that was still present in my environment, whether it was like family parties or like friends parties.
Mm-hmm.
Like post-secondary teams in competitions and like building that community and being part of that. That was something I really enjoyed, and the opportunity to create with different teams that I was part of. Learn so it was basically after that I had opportunities to teach within the Mississauga Toronto community, and at that time, I remember I was getting a bit further into this like dance work industry or some part of it, and I
Right.
was starting to juggle going into nursing. And I was working toward. I actually got my license as a nurse, a registered nurse, but then I was pretty much living two different lives,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like really. It was like really. It was too much. It was like I was working like maybe just under full time as a nurse and teaching dance on the side, and I really found
Right.
more joy in like creating and do like dancing. It sounds like super like cliche and like Hollywood movie kind of vibes, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed that kind of work,
Mm-hmm.
and I had the opportunity to teach for a trip to go to Europe with Ree and Kin, uh,
Mm-hmm.
but unfortunately my work didn't let me like take a leave of absence, and I was like,
Oh.
oh, I was like, no, what do I do? And I remember it was like a night shift, and I was like, I'm like, all I'm doing right now in this 12-hour shift is thinking about this like dance thing. And I was like, whatever, I'm gonna quit. And I left
Mm-hmm.
my nursing job and then decided to do it full time. And
Mm-hmm.
here I am today.
Mm-hmm. That's a very passionate step. I mean, for the both of you, for sure. Even can moving into a different country, different world, different community. And for that, how do you guys kind of stay, whether that's both of you guys as a duo or separate, how do you guys stay, motivated to keep going and to push through your careers as a professional dancer?
It's actually really hard to stay motivated, especially
Mm,
as artists and creatives,
Mhm.
because this is a really hard industry to be in, with lots of competition, and lots of the time, art is considered a commodity, something that is not that important, quote unquote,
yeah.
right? So, and it's a constant, I guess, in the industry, you have to constantly prove your worth, right? So it is really hard to stay motivated. But I think just um, trying to just focus on yourself, and making sure that you feed yourself, not with just food, feed yourself with good energy, and
Right.
surround yourself with good people that actually support your work and enjoy what you do, is probably the things that I I try to do to keep myself motivated.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Yeah, I totally agree. I'm not gonna add too much on like what Kim was saying. I also agree that it's really hard at times to feel motivated to continue like to do stuff in like dance, especially because like you like or I can't speak for everyone, but at least for us, we like we'll create and we put in a lot of the work, but sometimes like the amount of work that's put in, nothing really comes out of it. It seems like on our end, right?
Right.
Either
Right.
like monetary value or like or like opportunities to work. It's like it's great, but then also like we still the reality is too like we need money to live, right?
Right.
So it does get exhausting, and I think to
Mm-hmm.
find ways to continue to be motivated are um, one. I think knowing that we really enjoy it, because if we didn't like it, we probably wouldn't be doing it,
Right.
right? I
For
think with
sure.
nursing was a perfect example where I was like, I really don't love this that much for me to like go through this amount of suffering,
Exactly.
right? But I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying like this is a passion and I really enjoy this work, but it's not like always sunshines and rainbows. Like it's like a roller coaster. Like some days I'm like, I don't even want to dance right now. And I think those days
Uh-huh.
I definitely want to say like resting has definitely helped maintain that motivation and like taking a
Mm-hmm.
break for a bit and like living life a little bit more. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And to go maybe even deeper to that, like what are some barriers that you see today, whether that's just from you guys or from other people in the industry as a creative, as an artist? What are those barriers that you see, and how has the community or how has dancers professionally kind of either pivoted those or break those or even just suffered kind of going through them?
Mhm. Well, I think the obvious one is the pandemic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of the pandemic, lots of us artists and dancers lost a lot of jobs, because you can't really get together. Dance is a social
Right.
activity, and we bring people together to enjoy our art. And now that we cannot come together because of the pandemic, that this is like one set of the struggles. Another thing is, I guess, just the world in itself. I think during the
Mm,
past year, we've seen lots of social issues
right.
that actually bleed into the issues that we experience in dance, in the dance community as well. It's everything.
Yeah. A
Yeah.
lot of like
Mm-hmm.
systemic kind of things that are that have never really it's not new, but it's been like resurfaced or like brought to the forefront again
Yeah.
in different settings and in different environments. And I think those barriers um, need to be addressed, acknowledged, and figured out how we can reconstruct so that there is like things that things are more equitable for everyone. Or
Mhm.
yeah, there's equity with everyone. Um, and I think that that's kind of like the main thing that's like slowly transitioning, hopefully,
Hmm.
with everywhere and like in all avenues, right? Not just like in the dance community.
Do you think it is slowly transitioning at the moment? Or do you think we kind of need to do more? And this is not even speaking within just the dance community, just around the world. Like to see how what everything's going on, and I bet everyone listening right now kind of knows what is going on. And if you don't, I don't know, you
You can
should check
Google
that
you
out.
can Google
But
you check Google. There's a
yeah,
lot.
like you should definitely check it out. But yeah, like, do you guys think that it's moving forward, even if it is slow?
I think it's slowly moving, and there's more awareness to it. And I've seen people actually making conscious effort towards learning and unlearning. So I think
Yeah.
that's a good thing to see within our community. I wish there could be more of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
For sure, and we could be even more proactive about our learning and about educating ourselves instead of jumping right into doing things, right? I
Mm-hmm.
guess everything has to start from your own self, and you just have to learn and unlearn on your own, and
Mm-hmm.
then bring it to the community, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with Ken, and I think it's in certain areas it's moving slowly, and I think there's certain areas too where it's progressing faster, and I think then there's also the other side where there's certain areas that are kind of not, it's kind of like it's acknowledged, but then coming, it's like
Right.
brought back to comfort and like, oh, it's like not there, or like it's just
Right.
forgotten about, or at this point maybe even just like arrogance to not even acknowledge it anymore, right? And I think
Yeah.
there's that whole spectrum, um, and I wish that it would be more of a priority. And it's challenging because it's challenging with like all of these distractions, and like you hear different things and like people like, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just what Kin was saying, I think more accountability, and making it a priority, looking like within and trying to like break our biases and like working towards that, because that's like where it really starts. Like we can't take action to change anything if we can't change things within ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And what are some ways that you guys kind of do that yourselves? Maybe you guys can name one each to maybe share to everyone, like what you guys kind of do within yourselves, or to practice, maybe even together, to kind of break those biases, break those stigmas, and to figure that out within yourselves. Because, of course, as you mentioned, it really starts from within, right?
Yeah.
Mhm. I think, well, we call each other out
Yeah.
between ourselves. So, like an example, like I built this new courage to call people in and
Hmm.
addressing the issue that needs to be addressed. For example, um, some things that AJ might be unconsciously doing that is that is misogynistic, and I
Mm-hmm.
tell him that, but not um not in a bad way. Hey, AJ, you are a misogynistic
Yeah, not
man.
like
No,
not pointing fingers. Yeah,
yeah, not
yeah.
point fingers. You just point it out and say, hey, this is how I feel, and I think
Right.
this comes from this place. So let's talk about this and let's unlearn,
Right.
right?
Creating
These
the
things.
conversation between you
Yeah,
guys.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Um, I think for like working off that is like for me it's just surrounding myself with people where I see like the values that I want, like I want to work on. Or like, so even like with COVID is obviously challenging, but
Right.
I think with Google and like social media,
Yeah.
it's like so easy to access these things where it's kind of like it's like right there at your fingertips, right? So like for me, like, for my
Literally.
social media feed, like on my Instagram, majority of like a good portion of the things that I follow are more work on like things that I would want to work on myself. So like, like
Right.
anti-oppression work, even like how to like be more self-compassionate with yourself, and learning how to
Mm-hmm.
acknowledge, like have healthy conversations with yourself and like break down and see like, why do I think this way? Where did it come from? And bringing that to an awareness, I think, is the first step so that it can be dismantled and then relearned of like how now what can I do to change a habit, behavior, a way of thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We also take courses. I think that's the one thing that's
Right.
really
Yeah.
proactive. We take courses and then we reach out to people who provide this information and we learn from them, right? We learn from the
Amazing.
professionals in diversity, in
Hmm.
anti-oppression, and it's the work that we don't really share on social media, but that's something that we all have to do, right, in order to get better, because we all want to get better at this, and we're not free from errors and mistakes, but I
Mm-hmm.
guess making an active effort towards fixing that and learning things and learning new things is like really important,
Yeah.
especially nowadays.
Yeah.
And how has, and especially as you say nowadays, meaning COVID, how has COVID kind of helped you guys, I guess, see that and maybe even like switch up priorities? Or how have you guys like tried to kind of reconnect with yourselves as well? Just because, and I know everyone has experienced this where life was kind of, on the go, everything was, flowing the way it flowed, and then all of a sudden everything had to stop. So, how has COVID, and especially as professional dancers, really just change your perspective and also your art, even, or even just the way you treat yourselves and how you take care of yourselves?
That's a good question.
I think when COVID started, um, there has been lots of changes within us, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
together. The first thing is that we started really, really appreciating rest, right? And that was something that we never appreciated before COVID because, as you said, everything was go, 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 and there's
Mm-hmm.
no time to
Exactly.
sleep. Actually, lots of the time
Yeah.
we barely sleep, right? And
Yeah,
so we learned
exactly.
how to rest really well, and then we actually realized how important it is to actually prioritize rest as much as we prioritize our work, and just making sure that we always have time to take a break or recognize in our bodies when we need to take a break, right?
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Before, yeah, pre-COVID, everything, yeah, like you said, Kayla, was like go, go, go. Um, this time during COVID, I think especially when it first started and we were like in our first phase of like quarantine or the lockdown, was like you really got to see like what it was like to rest without, and I think I'm curious to see how like everything is going to be during the transition back into,
Mm-hmm.
after COVID. I think there's going to be this need to have to like rush back to like, I got to catch up. It's been a year. I haven't been doing anything. I gotta like catch up. But I hope that we continue to practice like times to like to rest, um, make times for ourselves, and things that we want to do without any guilt, without feeling like we're
Mm-hmm.
lazy, without feeling like we're potatoes, and that rest is productive. Yeah, having those like conversations to yourself because it's I it's hard for me sometimes to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna rest, and then I'm like itching to like fill in my schedule with something that I should be doing,
Yeah.
but instead I should be just resting. Yeah.
And to point out, you said something that kind of, I kind of want you to elaborate is making rest productive. How maybe go in depth into that? Like, I can see what you mean, but in a sense, like maybe you can illustrate it or even talk about how you guys have been making rest productive.
hmm Yeah. I think like how do we illustrate rest? Okay, so I'm gonna go in my science degree real quick. Okay, so for any people out there who don't have a science background, so if we're looking at a muscle, right? If
Yeah.
you constantly work out a muscle and lift a very like relatively heavy weight every day, constantly,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to tire out and it's going to strain and you're going to have an injury. So what if we treat
Yes.
our minds and our bodies just like that muscle, right? If we constantly keep on filling our bodies and minds with work, 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 then we're eventually going to injure ourselves either physically, mentally, or spiritually, right? So allowing those opportunities, and in the context of this muscle being worked out, the muscle actually only grows when it's in rest, which means it doesn't actually doesn't need you to be using it in resistance. The only time that it actually
Mm,
grows is when it's being fed, nurtured, and taken time away from that resistance. It still requires the work, but it doesn't
right.
require it to be constantly happening. And I think what we've learned is like if you're trying to go somewhere, there's really no destination, but there's the journey, and the journey should feel consistent, right? Like if you're trying to do something really fast, really quick one time, right, and then you get hurt from doing it, then you might not be able to do it again, right? You might like fall out of it, you might like dislike it, you might be injured from it. Knock on wood, that doesn't happen. The idea of like using rest is productive is allowing yourself to know like this is part of the journey that I need to also to put as much effort in as when I put the effort working hard, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving 100% of like trying to like let's say try to run really really fast, I have to give the exact same 100% effort of like how am I gonna rest. Does
Yeah.
that mean like I'm not like maybe it doesn't require like me laying in bed all day, but like for
Yeah.
example, Kin will always like she'll encourage me to stretch. She's like, why don't you stretch? Or
Mm-hmm.
like, why don't instead of doing like a hard run, why don't we just go for a walk, right? Or like finding moments like that. I think those are ways that we can be productive and allow our bodies to grow or our minds to heal during that time of like a lot of hard work.
Yeah. And I
Mm-hmm.
think to elaborate on that, lots of people think that resting is just laying in bed, watching TV, being
Yeah.
on Netflix, being on social media, which is not rest.
It's good stuff though.
One thing. Um,
Very good stuff.
you can you can have a passive rest and active rest, right? When you're
Hmm.
passive, you're not doing anything. But when it's an active rest, you're actually doing something that helps you recover. For example, going on walks or just spending time with friends. It's also rest, right? Engaging in some type of activity that you love. For example, for me, I've been really enjoying painting by numbers. So that has
I
been really
love
good rest for
those.
me. Yeah,
Makes me
those are
feel like a
something.
painter. Not
Right,
really,
but not
I know,
really.
right? Until you finish it, then you're like, I made that. I
I
painted
made
Yeah.
that, yeah.
that.
Right. So those are the
Yeah.
examples of active rest where you're actually also doing something, but you're resting at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
hmm Yeah.
And
I fully
especially
agree.
as creatives, I think it's important for that. And whether you are a dancer or not, or just in the art industry for whatever reason you're in, um, Kim makes a point, and she's basically being creative as she's resting as well. So, and it's not per se like, oh, I'm gonna plan to do this. It's more so, okay, I need a break from what I do, which is dancing, for example, and maybe I need to do something creative to stimulate my brain or to kind of do that as I rest as well. So it's also important as creatives to really find other, I guess, avenues of art and be able to put that into your art. So maybe to complete that whole thought, you guys can maybe share a little bit about how what inspires you outside of dance for within your dance and careers, and how do you translate that into your work?
Word. What inspired? I think I just ask myself like what I want to do sometimes during the day. Like I think those like opportunities. Like I've been like doing morning runs, and just being
Mm-hmm.
like in the run, like it helps me kind of. I wouldn't say it's like it's not a form of therapy or anything, but to just be present in the moment.
Right.
It helps like practicing just mindfulness, like looking at my surrounding, what's around me, um, the people that I'm around, the things that I'm watching, the things that I'm seeing. I think like those opportunities have like helped nourish like some things that I want to create. There's like also science too behind. Is it like there's like like psychological studies about like when you're in this active rest or passive rest, you're in this like you probably can elaborate, King, because you I think you were the one who told me about this about like those alpha waves. Like you know what I'm talking about, right? Like when you're doing something like showering or just driving, right? Or like when you're in the moment, kind of like those automatic activities that you do, like your brain goes into this like active like this creative state where like ideas flourish, and it's usually never when you're actually creating. It's usually when you're doing
Mm-hmm.
ordinary day things that you like enjoy. You're in flow, right? There's no challenge behind it, and it's so I find myself like in those moments walking, taking a shower, going for a nice run,
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, washing dishes, playing, like those moments. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think inspiration, you can't really force it, but you can create an environment where it can come to you easier,
Mm.
right? So how it works, I read a book. I forgot the name of the book. I should probably remember the name of the book. But as AJ said, right? Things that come to us creatively come from the environment where your brain is actually not working, where it's resting, and you're doing something that might be mindless, like showering, right? And it just comes to you. So just knowing those environments where that creativity can enter into your system, that's what I guess can be part of inspiration.
Yeah, and I
Mm-hmm.
think cat like I can't coin this. I think it was through, I don't know if Kim told me, it was like through ABBD, but someone mentioned the idea of like catching your genius,
Mm.
right? So like whenever that happens for anyone who's
Mm.
creative and like they're doing, like their activity of just like rest and flow, right? And then something comes up, like catch it, like write it down, right? And
Right.
then have it all like written out, and like you don't have to figure it out, but write it out, save it for later, and then come back to it when you're like in the zone to create, or like to work on something, like to work on it.
Yeah.
And then you can start to like refine it, maybe change it a bit, add something to it, right? Use the opportunity. Oh yeah, like wow, I have this really cool idea, and then I'll just write it out and then come back to it later. I think a lot of
Yeah.
some of our recent projects have been like something that just comes out on a whim. We'll write it out, and then Ken will be like, or I'll be like, yo, write it out real quick on the laptop, and then just save it for later, and then we'll come back to it maybe like
Yeah.
a month later.
Yeah, and I found I've done that too. I've had instances where I'm actually about to go to bed, even, and I'm just about to set my alarm. I'm just about to, get ready, and then all of a sudden I'm like, "Oh crap, that's a good idea." So I'll
There
just
it
look
is.
over to
See?
something and just write it out, and it may look like crap too, like just chicken scratch or whatever, but it's there. And then I'll just go to bed and I'll wake up and I'll see that sticky note or wherever I wrote it, and I'll be like, "Oh, right, okay." And then you kind of follow up with that a little bit. Like it
Yeah.
follows up every day, and it just adds on, adds on, adds on, and it kind of becomes a really, really good project or a really good idea for sure. So to know that you guys actually do that is really cool, because especially for people that may know your stuff and people that don't know your stuff, I just love it for sure. And I think
Thank
like
you.
your ideas have been so, like, I wouldn't say practical, but people kind of like, relate to it a little bit and just either find it funny, or they find things very just amusing, or oh my gosh, I relate to this. I feel for that. So for sure, like, I think that's one good practice that a lot of artists should really do. And yeah, like for you guys working on projects and whatnot, kind of moving along into the dance and film industry a little bit. What has what have you guys like experienced when building your projects and then putting it onto screen, for example? Has there been a bit of like a translation moment where you kind of have to figure out how to put it on screen, or have you guys kind of like learned how to put your work into picture, in that, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think when it comes to dance and film together, learning how to collaborate is really important. And that's the thing that we have been continuously practicing, how to let go of your own ideas or your, I guess, ego, how to let go of control and let other people uh, contribute to the idea, the original idea that you have, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that has been super helpful in creating the projects that we have been having. For example, the videographer that we always work with, Ian, right?
Mm-hmm.
We always make
Shout out to
sure,
Ian.
Shout out to Ian
yay,
Simon.
Ian! We always try our best to talk to him and ask him about what he thinks about certain things, and uh, give
Mm-hmm.
him enough freedom to also express himself um, within our idea, within our
Right.
work. So, yeah, learning how to collaborate and let go of control is
Yeah.
important.
Right.
I think also too, just adding on to what Kin was saying is like, um, learning to let go of perfection, because there's no such thing as that. I think sometimes
Right.
when we're in this idea of like we're trying to paint the image in our head, and then we see like post production, we're like, oh shoot, like is there any other clips we have that could like smooth this out? And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it doesn't happen, and
Yeah.
that's part of it. It's like a learning opportunity, you know. It's like okay, cool, that's all right. Like this is the best we can do. That's it. Like now we've learned, you know, and it's a whole like what Kim was saying, a collaborative team effort, right? Because I think uh it's a lot easier, at least for us, in the relationship that we have with Ian, where um and even working like with Kat, where Katrina Castro, if you haven't seen her work, is if like we're focusing on like the choreography, dance, and maybe just kind of like a general storyline, and then we give the idea to like the cinematographer, and they pretty much like formulate all of like how what needs to be shot, because like they know stuff
Uh-huh.
that we don't know, right? Like they have
Right.
terminology that like they're throwing out, and like like lenses, and I'm like,
Lenses,
what?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, what is happening? Light, exposure, ISO, like I'm like, what does that mean to me? Cowboy, you know, like I'm like, that's crazy. So yeah, like just know it, like we're all contributing to a goal, and just allowing that process to happen has been a lot smoother for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So what's the plan? Not really plan, but what's in it for KINAJ right now? And I mean, like, you don't have to like talk about any projects or anything, but just talking about what you guys are working on, even, or just where are you guys at as a duo at the moment?
Well, we have been creating a lot since we started. We've been putting out lots of projects and videos. So right now, I think it is the time for us to just take a good break and
Mm-hmm.
rest. Um, and I think we've been having, well, this time we want to take this time to rest well, but also to learn new things that can
Mm-hmm.
actually be included in our art, right?
Mm-hmm.
Later on, something new, and without resting, taking a break, like you can't really do it, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think something like taking this time for just like some growth, some rest. I think the idea of like what Ken was saying, like trying new things is actually really great because you can learn more about yourself in that environment. And like just taking a step back is like, being a student again,
Mm-hmm.
wanting to learn things that you want to learn because it's what you want and no one should tell you otherwise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Think other than that, that's like pretty much it. We have like ideas, but we're not trying to force them to happen. We're
Right.
kind of think like throughout our process together, we've come to realize that certain ideas are just gonna happen later, or they're not gonna happen because it was just an idea that wasn't aligned with us anymore, right? So
Mm-hmm.
just being present and like letting go of that idea of like having to do everything right now.
Mm-hmm. So, what, if for all people listening right now, what would be kind of your advice to others that are probably in the dance industry or in the creative industry, um, coming from experience as a duo or just within your experience and journeys in dance? What could be like maybe a nugget of advice for others that are truly inspired by your work? And that want to also pursue maybe something like this or want to pursue something in the same industry, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I could say just general, and this can be translated as a duo later on, but take time to learn about yourself, uh, take time to grow and love yourself for who you are. Take the time to unlearn and learn new things and maybe relearn too. And I think that will bring you to where you need to be.
Mm-hmm. And I think uh, always strive to be a nice person.
Yeah.
Right? And it's actually a really practical advice for people who want to be part of this industry because um, your reputation is really really important. And if um, if you're not treating people nicely, or you've been doing things that are harming people, that won't help your career because there will not be any support for you there, right?
Yeah.
So always be nice and treat people with kindness. And I think those are the things that will, I don't know, help you in the
Mm-hmm.
future.
I think we had there's a video podcast or not podcast, sorry, like a video like conference call with Artscape. And there's like a talk
Mm-hmm.
where people were saying you don't have to be making money to be professional at what you're doing. I think
Mm-hmm.
there's the idea of like
Yeah.
professionalism doesn't translate to like how much you earn or how busy you are. I think you can be a professional in like whatever it is that you are, you're passionate about and like you want to either do a lot of work in or just like not a lot of work in. You can find professionalism in that and being professional and respectful in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, to close out the episode, I have a certain set of questions which you
Oh
guys have
no.
received already. Oh, he said, oh no. Yeah, so they are for all the listeners, or maybe you've just been tuning into this episode. But we have a certain section that I give each of my guests, and it's called Ready, Set, Inspire. And they're a set of 10 questions that I kind of laid out to stir a bit of learning about the guests, but also to give a little bit of some advice, food for thought, and also just to kind of give a little nuggets of things here and there about life and just what they've reflected on with regards to these questions. So each of these questions are very specific, and they could either speak generally or they could speak with more in depth or elaboration to any of them, and they can choose whatever they want. So it's really open to how they want to respond and how they feel with the question and how they want to help others as well. So if you guys are ready, we can
Yeah.
start. Perfect.
Let's do it.
Alrighty. So who are your daily inspirations in life?
Mine are Kin. Hey, she didn't pay me to say that. Don't worry. Kin is daily inspiration. My parents. And currently, just like the friends who are like have been keeping in touch and like are within my circle right now. They have been an inspiration to me, and yeah, just everything outside that I'm in. Yeah.
For me, it's AJ. He
Hey,
paid me to say
I
that,
did.
of course.
I did. Thank you.
My parents, my family, and if you're speaking about other people, I think Dan Harris. Dan Harris is a newscaster from ABC News, and he has this podcast called 10% Happier. And I'm really inspired by him, by the way he carries himself, and by the way he learns and unlearns things, and he's really courageous with how he does it, like, and brings a lot of healing and inspiration to people.
Ooh, because if I may add, if you're ever
Yes.
into running, I've been really inspired by Coach Bennett from the Nike Running Club app. He has some really great gems of just, I lose myself that I'm even running because I'm just like, wow, he's making me think about myself. So if you're ever into running, have a
Kudos
listen.
to him, for sure.
Thanks, Coach Bennett. Thanks. We don't know each other yet, but thank you.
Yeah, no. Soon. You
Soon,
guys will. How do you guys overcome challenges?
We rest. We take a break, we rest, we reset, and we ground ourselves to overcome challenges.
Yeah.
Yes.
And just try, and then not try again. You know, it's okay.
What sets you apart from the rest of the world?
Word, I don't know.
I think just being us.
Yeah, personal experiences.
Personal experiences, heritage, background, everything. We're all unique in the world, but we're also the same. So yeah.
I think we need to embrace a bit more of our uniqueness and who we, as much as authentic self, our authentic selves, as much as we are, versus trying to become something that we like see too much on like media.
What is one thing that you would have told yourself 5 to 10 years ago so you could avoid it today? And what is one thing you would tell yourself 5 to 10 years ago to be proud of today?
Okay, so one thing that I would have told myself 5 to 10 years ago so I could avoid that today: you're doing great. Keep going, AJ. Because I think if I said not go into like a program, I wouldn't be the person I am today.
Right.
But I wouldn't want to change the future or the past, because I don't think I would have been here. So, and I'm very thankful for, where I am today.
Go to therapy. Definitely. I'm a big proponent of therapy, and I think that should be stigmatized, and mental health is as important as physical health. And we should normalize people going to therapy on regular basis.
Regular basis. Yes.
For sure.
Should be funded too properly.
Should be funded and free.
Yes,
and free.
100%. I agree.
Yeah. The biomedical model is a little linear. Too linear. What is one thing that you could tell yourself 5, 10 years ago to be proud of today? Oh, yourself, AJ. You're great. You're doing great, AJ. That's what I would tell myself. Just be proud of who you are today. That's what I would tell myself.
Same for me.
Yeah.
How do you guys keep yourself grounded, and how do you get back to that when you aren't aligned with it?
How do I keep myself grounded? I acknowledge that I think the first step is acknowledge that I am either stressed, anxious, sad, tired, something. I do not feel grounded. So I think bringing that is the first step. I have to acknowledge like I am floating in the air right now and scrambling. And I think after I acknowledge that and Kin hears the venting, thank you. And she doesn't have if no one has emotional capacity, just bring it up to myself like I am like freaking out right now and I need to relax. I think for me, what I do is I'll stop what I'm doing, remove myself from the environment, and maybe just go for a walk or like take a moment to just be in a different space and just like stop and just like focus on like things around me. Ken's taught me like this really cool mindfulness thing, just like just using my five senses and just like verbalize and saying those things so I can like not focus on what's happening up here and focus on like what's just happening here and like what I see and hear, smell and taste and feel. Yeah.
For me, is rest, right? That's how I keep myself grounded. I always try my best to make sure that I rest well, rest as much as I work. And this has been probably the best thing I've done to myself is taking rest, um, you know, as my priority.
Name an exercise that you do physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, and why do you do that?
An exercise I do is running. I run every like not every morning, but like every other morning.
Mm-hmm.
And why do I do that? I think initially I did it because I wanted to just I was like, I want to run a half marathon for myself. Why not? Right? It sounds like a really scary feat. Um, but eventually it just became something that I developed a habit for. And again, thanks, Coach Bennett, Nike Running Club app. Just learned a lot more about my like a good amount about myself when I was running, and like again, like lessons of resting and just taking time to like stick to that training plan, like not get ahead of myself, stop when it's good, and like just be consistent in the work.
Just want to say, AJ just did his half marathon.
Yeah, it was great. I ran
Woo!
my
That's really
I achieved it.
good.
I achieved it. I did it, and it was it was tough. There was a mental
Yeah.
battle there, but it was yeah, it was great. I the funny part is I didn't really I wanted to do it, but I know I'm going to continue running again because I really I've found a lot of joy in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For me, I practice yoga and I practice mindfulness and I
Mm-hmm.
meditate. So all three they actually kind of just intertwine with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yoga is actually a practice for your mind, not only your body, which is commercialized like that
Mm-hmm.
in our world. But it's actually if you go into the real practice and you learn more about it, it's actually the practice for your mind.
Mm-hmm.
So yoga, meditation, and mindfulness. That's what I do.
Mm-hmm. If you were to summarize your journey, where it is today, and what you had to overcome in 5 words, what would they be? And you could do 5 words in a sentence, or you could do 5 words separately to kind of,
Okay,
summarize it in that sense. Do whatever you'd like.
okay. This was hard. This is a hard question. Okay, so I did mine in like separate, so it won't really make sense as a sentence. So it's
Mm-hmm.
continuing. Yeah, my journey is continuing. It's uncertain. It's introspective. It's fun, and in, I don't have a fifth word, but I'm gonna say thankful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for me, it would be persevering, um, letting go, um, and self. So focusing on the self and I guess community,
Mm-hmm.
focusing on your community and making sure that you take care of your community. And
Mm-hmm.
the last thing would be, I guess, being present, which is not a word, but present.
How do you try to inspire the people around you or the ones who follow you every day?
I, I I don't think we do, but I know I don't try to inspire anyone around me. That sounds so bad, but
Mm-hmm.
just try to actually focus on just myself, and not like, yeah, like, kind of like a selfish way, but like focus on myself and like like caring for myself, taking care of myself, and
Mm-hmm.
I hope, uh, RuPaul's Drag Race. I don't know if this is RuPaul's line. Is this RuPaul's line? This is RuPaul's line, right? If you ever watch RuPaul, you should watch. If you don't watch RuPaul, Netflix, you can do it for your passive rest. But she says you can't love yourself. How the hell are you gonna love anybody else? Can I get an aim, right? And I think that's so true.
Yeah.
So I think finding, I don't really try to like make room to inspire people, but just to um, love myself and take that time to love myself, and then allow myself to be seen and share that with people, and then maybe that inspires people. But at the end of the day, it's really just focusing on loving myself.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree with AJ. I think we shouldn't be, like self-absorbed into trying to inspire people. I guess that just comes if people relate to what we do, they'll just be inspired, right? There's like a purpose that each person will follow, and if
Mm-hmm.
it aligns with your purpose, then you'll just naturally get inspired by it.
I think a good question to ask yourself too would be, what are your values? And I think
Mm-hmm.
if you can answer those and follow through with them, and that feels aligned with you, then you will, in some way, shape, or form, find ways to inspire someone
Mm-hmm.
unintentionally.
What is the legacy that you want to leave others with?
Make sure you rest.
I think
Legacy.
destigmatizing mental health is really important for me as a human and as a member of the society. Um, I think this is the topic that needs to be at the forefront. Well, it has been there has been more awareness towards that, but there hasn't been that much, I guess, enough work done to actually
Mm-hmm.
reinforce the idea that it's okay to take care of your mental health. And there's I haven't seen lots of equity in that aspect as well, because usually therapy is only for people who can afford it, right? So I guess as members of the society, we need to work towards that, where it's it can be accessible, right, for everyone who needs it.
Sorry, I
Mm-hmm.
think for my legacy, because legacy is a huge word, but I definitely want to. I hope that the legacy to leave would be, um, it's okay to choose what you love doing, and make that your full-time career. I think that's one thing
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to leave. I'm not saying it's super easy, but if it's something that you want to do and it's true to who you are and it feels good, then go for it. You're never too old. You're never too young. Um, and even if your parents tell you not to do it, you can do it.
Do
Just do it. Just tell them
Let's do it.
AJ said so.
Alrighty, and to finish off, there's this finish this sentence little thing. So I'll give you four statements that I kind of start with, and then you kind of finish off the sentence. So yeah. So the first one is I want to.
Eat ice cream.
um, I want to learn.
You're so much cooler.
Ice cream's cool
Ice cream's pretty cool.
too.
I like my answer.
I understand that.
I am I am where I am supposed to be.
Hmm.
I understand that I am surrounded by support and love.
I hold on to.
my family.
Same thing for me, my family and loved ones.
And I can do this because
I want to.
I'm enough.
Perfect. Those were amazing answers. Thank you guys so much for being on this show, and I love that support. Hey, let's go. Alrighty. Thank you guys so much, Kinaj, for being on here, and I really appreciate you guys really sharing what you're inspired by, what you're doing, and also how you're doing it and what you're doing right now. So I really appreciate that, and I hope the listeners right now really love what you're doing because honestly, what you guys are doing is so just inspiring and it just comes from the heart for sure. And I think you guys should really continue that and really be a light for sure to everyone that's around you and following you. So if you guys aren't following them, where can they find you? Where can they see your stuff? How can they reach out to you? Plug those right now.
If you want to follow us on Instagram, you can follow us at KINAJ.co. So that's KINAJ.co. And then on
We have a YouTube, same thing, KINAJ. And we have a website. Yay. Same thing, KINAJ. Consistency,
yeah,
marketing,
yeah,
hashtag marketing.
Branding, everything.
Branding.
Yeah, I know for sure. Yeah, so everything will be linked down below. You guys can find everything from their latest projects to what they're doing and just how they're inspiring others as well. So do that. And for also Tea and Honey Lives, we post on episodes every first and third Friday of every month, so you guys can check that out on your favorite streaming platforms. And be sure to subscribe. So if you guys enjoy this episode, don't be afraid to show some love by writing us a review or by DMing us at Tea and Honey Live, sharing the A on Instagram or Twitter. You can also find our episodes on YouTube where you can visually see our guests talk it out. For more information, you can visit teaandhoney.ca. I know it has like a ring to it, right? This is Tea and Honey Live. Thank you so much, Kin and AJ, for being here. We're definitely checking out. Peace and love, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.